extraordinary situation we found ourselves, and we got out of this Congress with the decisions needed for our struggle to remain in the Olympic family. The new rules were adopted, as well as the new constitution. The new constitution that modernizes our federation and our organization, that gives more equity to women in sport and decision making. And of course the election of the president. But the most important thing is, of course, the constitution and the new rules. We also decided that we stop the partnership with MMA and grappling sports, which will probably never be, unfortunately, on the Olympic Games. We'll give them some time, short time to organize themselves and to continue their activity without us. These are the main decisions of the Congress. So, I'm ready for questions now.
Hello, I'm Stuart Williams from AFP, Agence France Presse. I'd like to ask, for the layman who's going to watch wrestling in the future with the rule changes, what's going to be the thing that we're going to most notice? If I watch a wrestling match compared to London 2012, what's going to most strike me?
A lot of things. A lot of things. First of all, it will be much more difference in between the freestyle and the Greco. There will be two bouts. There will be no draws. There will be no push-outs. There will be no how to say, this strange position on the mat for the Greco-Roman. These are the main changes. And of course, rules much more understandable for the spectators.
Please. Jim Heinz from the Associated Press. As I understand it, the rule changes are going to be taking effect as of tomorrow. How difficult will it be for the athletes to adapt to these changes?
That won't be. Our specialists, and he is one of them, the greatest, will help me. Mr. Stankiewicz is the vice president. He did all the work about the rules, and he will assist me on these questions. He knows every detail.
I can do it in my sleep. But to answer the question, how difficult will it be for the wrestlers? It's almost like the question, which wrestler is best prepared? Because if a wrestler is prepared, and he can take his opponent down, but his opponent can't take him down. If he can turn his opponent and his opponent can't turn him, if he's in proper condition to wrestle for 6 minutes, and if the wrestlers are forced to stay in the mat and wrestle, then the best wrestler will win. So regardless of whether you were preparing for the old rules or the new rules, if you've prepared properly, and you're not the weaker wrestler trying to game the rules, then the new rules, you'll still prevail. And what the new rules will incent the athletes to do is to score quicker and more often, because they're rewarded for the cumulative score. So I wouldn't find it difficult. And I think that was in a discussion on the FILA Bureau, and in a discussion in the Extraordinary Congress, you notice that those that were most outspoken about implementing the rules immediately were those of the most talented wrestlers, because they understand, if I'm prepared properly, the rules don't matter. I'm the best wrestler, I will prevail, and clearly that's what our new rules allow.
Broadcasting agency, well, if there will be no draws, so how the winner, let's say if the both wrestlers have the same number of points at the end of the bout, so how the winner will be decided, and also just to, used to be 3-minute periods, 2 periods, and the 1 minute rest. Now it's all the same. I mean, because I've heard that there'll be a longer rest between periods.
No,
longer rest also then extra time after. I mean, if they tied.
The current match format is 2 3-minute periods with a 30-second rest. There will never be a referee's decision. There will never be an overtime. There'll never be a ball pull or a clinch. Because in the freestyle rules, I'll speak specifically about the freestyle rules. If at the end of 2 minutes, neither wrestler has scored, the referees, in a consensus, must decide which of the 2 athletes is least active. That person will be required to score in 30 seconds. If he doesn't score, his other opponent will get 1 point. And we know from the current criteria that once a point is scored, especially and now that we're using cumulative score, even if there's a tie, the last to score wins. The last to score. But the first criteria, for example, if one wrestler scores a 3-point takedown and the other scores 3 1-point moves, the 3 points takes precedence. Okay? So the highest cumulative score, and then the last to score. Okay.
But then again, what if they're all like one is 3 points and the other is 3 points? Then
the last to score. The last to score. Always will trump the tie.
Be careful with him, he always has an answer.
I already know this.
Any other questions?
Maybe I could ask, sorry, one more on the rules. Do you expect from these new rule changes more spectacular throws? Do you expect from these rule changes more spectacular throws and spectacular images that will attract even more people to watch the sport?
For 2 reasons. The answer to that is yes, for several reasons, and I'll let my colleague Mikhail Mamiashvili give his version for the Greco-Roman. But the scoring system, by adding 2 points for a takedown, which makes a takedown more important than a push-out, or a fleeing the mat, or a passivity point, it incents the wrestlers to score. Consecutively, a 5-point move, if it's a grand amplitude and the wrestler is winning, it ends the match, which also incents more spectacular throws. So the combination of those 2 provide a added incentive versus the old rules for more spectacular and more dynamic wrestling. Yes.
I would like you to present our colleague and friend, Mr. Mamiashvili, the president of the hosting federation of this Congress. I have to say that this Congress was the best organized ever and the most visited ever.
Спасибо огромное за оценку, это очень лестно. Я думаю, спасибо огромное за оценку, но я думаю, что это повод работы и самое главное понимание сложности и ответственности момента, который сегодня присутствует. И настолько ответственно все подошли к целям и задачам, которые перед нами стоят, что это все вылилось в такую плодотворную, очень активную, ну и, как показал Конгресс, очень продуктивную работу. Вывод один сегодня. Мы едины, мы объединены одними целями, одними задачами, в рамках ФИЛА, в рамках бюро ФИЛА вокруг президента. Практически избрано подавляющим большинством. Это самое главное. Спасибо огромное. Я хотел бы еще раз от имени Российской Федерации спортивной борьбы, от имени всех тех, кто с надеждой смотрит в будущее борьбы, верит в будущее борьбы, поздравить вновь избранного президента Международной Федерации Nenada Lalovic, пожелать ему самое главное здоровье, чтобы все те задачи, которые поставлены, он сумел их реализовать вместе с бюро, вместе с французской мировой общественностью. Спасибо огромное.
Well, yeah.
Okay, that's all right. Go ahead, and then we'll go.
Yeah, just want to make some clarity. Regardless of the IOC decision about 2020, wrestling is still in the Olympics in Rio in 2016, and just want to now you proposed or will be changes for like you have 18 overall 18 medals for women, so it will be like 6 in Greco-Roman, 6 in freestyle, and 6 for women. Is that the new thing that?
This is what we propose to the IOC for the 2020. In Rio, we stay the same. This is our proposal for 2020. 6 categories, so 6 women, 6 freestyle, 6 Greco, 16 wrestlers, 1 bronze medal, not 2 like before. That also means 1 final more, and half of the referees, in order to, let's say, make the number of the participants lower number, in order to facilitate the organization of the games, because the games are limited by 10,500 athletes and participants.
Okay. Just this, so it's like that, like in boxing, it will be like the you have to qualify in each weight category with 16 wrestlers, right?
Yeah, we can qualify 16 wrestlers.
So
We qualified up to Rio, we qualified 19 or 20 wrestlers per category. We reduce it on 16.
Japanese Daily Marriage. I still have a question about the timing of the rules. You said you are applying starting tomorrow, but the first case is the right World Junior Championship. Is that in August? And you said the final is officially starts at January 2014. Just by the end of this year, you still have some change for. I'm sorry again. So could you clarify the timing? Starting tomorrow, and when will the first tournament, and which month, and what about January 1st of 2014?
The intentions and the vote of the FILA Bureau was to initiate the new rules immediately. In practice, however, for example, the Junior Asian Championship that will be held 3 weeks from now. Depending upon the organizational or the organizing committee, what they have in place, what contracts, there are a number of issues that may make it impossible for them to implement the change so quickly. But the intentions are to implement them as soon as possible and hopefully immediately. I think for the athletes and for the coaches, and I'll let my Mr. Mamiashvili give his opinion, but I think both of us are of the same feeling, that as an athlete and a coach, we will be prepared for the new rules tomorrow.
I'm sorry again, so speaking of the January 1st of 2014, so you may still...
No, not January 1st, no. Tomorrow.
So, I mean, starting tomorrow in the final, that's it.
Yeah, starting tomorrow will be the intention. Now, we will work feverishly to put the rules suggestions into the correct language and format of a rule book and disseminate that to all the international federations as soon as possible. But, as I said, the Junior Asian Championships in 3 weeks, it isn't likely, given what they have already accomplished and organized, for them to be able to implement those rules that quickly. So they'll have that latitude to notify all of the participants that, no, we will be wrestling this competition under the old rules.
So the World Championship will be implemented. World Championship will be conducted by you.
The intentions are to wrestle under the new rules in Budapest. Yes.
Равоевалили 11 медиатаймс. Сегодня одним из самых острых дискуссионных вопросов был вопрос о том, сколько дней проводить соревнования. День или два. Конечно, для спортсмена 2 дня всегда лучше, чем 1, но тем не менее это сейчас невозможно из-за контрактов со спонсорами, с телевидением. Есть ли в бюро, например, единое понимание, будет ли стремление делать все-таки 2 дня соревнований, как это сегодня обсуждалось? Спасибо.
Currently, we are using a one-day format. We are extending the length of the day by starting the morning competition in the morning rather than at 1 o'clock. So the intentions will be, depending upon the number of entries, it would be the organizing committee, if it felt that it needed in order to complete the tournament on schedule, needed to start at 10, then they would start at 10. But at this juncture, we're saying 11 rather than 1. But in short order, we will be reevaluating 2 issues that we could not come to an agreement on. And I don't want to say that we couldn't come to an agreement because we disagreed as much as it was we just had no more time. Those issues are whether it's a 1-day or 2-day format. And the other issue is whether to separate the number 1 and number 2 wrestlers from the previous year's World Championship, or to separate the number 1, 2, and the 2 bronze medals from the year before. So we don't disagree that we should separate wrestlers, we just haven't been able to agree on how many we should separate. And you can understand the dynamics there because you have the more powerful countries with the better wrestlers who make a strong argument why the best wrestlers should be separated. You also have a number of the developing countries who, if we do not separate the best wrestlers from the previous year's World Championship, the odds of them getting a medal are better. So those are the internal dynamics within the organization. I think, does that make it clear? You can understand the mathematical construct that, yes, if we don't seed the wrestlers, it's possible that number 1, 2, 3, and 4 can all be right next to each other and wrestle each other in the first round. So that improves the odds of someone who is the 5th or 6th best wrestler. Does that make sense? But we will clarify that in short order.
Японский телевидение Саппора. Хотелось бы уточнить, вот у вас большая дискуссия была, с какого месяца, с завтрашнего дня, с Нового года вводить новые правила.
Уже озвучили сейчас, вот как раз коллега ваша с японской телевизии.
Да, но вот хотелось бы уточнить, а все-таки решение по этим новым правилам, оно было одобрено на бюро, или же сегодня надо понимать, что оно вот, как параллельно с голосованием за нового президента, оно было у Вятской тоже одобрено. Какова, в общем, формула одобрения пересмотра новых правил?
I feel it was unfortunate that we had to have the discussion that we had today in front of the Extraordinary Congress, because the vote was not a close vote. The discussion was lengthy yesterday in the FILA Bureau. So I was surprised when the General Secretary indicated that we had to start January 1st. Now, having said that, in his defense, he is the person most responsible for the implementation. He's signed the contracts with all of these countries for these various competitions. He needs to draft the rule book. He needs to disseminate it to not only the wrestlers, the coaches, the federations, but of course the referees. And the referees need, in some ways, to be trained. As wrestlers, it's a little bit easier for us. I just picture myself, okay, as I went through before. I understand if I could take my opponent down. Okay, now it's 2 points. It used to be 1 point. Now I'll do it more often because it's not best of 3, it's cumulative score, and I have an advantage and I'm incented to score more, but I'll continue to score. Okay, so to answer your question, the question is clear. It was, we voted on it yesterday, we passed it yesterday at the FILA Bureau meeting that we would start the rules as soon as possible.
Все-таки хотелось бы уточнить. То есть решение было принято именно вчера, а сегодня такого формального одобрения не потребовалось по изменению новых правил.
The decision about the rules is made by the Bureau. After the Constitution, it's not the Congress who approves the rules. The Bureau decides and just informs the Congress.
But to maybe just to expand a little bit on that, it's exactly that's the way it is. That doesn't mean that as we go through our governance issue of our organization, that going forward, we don't extend those conversations more. To clarify that, that's all things that we are looking at, that our president is looking at, along with TSE consultants on how we restructure our organization.
Okay, it's very clear on the whatever the things you have to do kind of to remain in the Olympics. But what are your next steps within the St. Petersburg? Normally, what 2 weeks now? What are you going to do? Like campaign, media worldwide, or just work with the individual IOC members? I mean, what's the next step? What's the main thing?
Campaigning the way you propose is
I'm asking.
We prepare our presentation. This is the most important thing. In our presentation, we also presented the changes we made to the organization. And this is, we couldn't finish our presentation without this extraordinary Congress. So that's a step forward, and we are now fully ready for present our sport and our federation to the executive board in St. Petersburg.
Are you going to bring, famous wrestlers, well-known wrestlers to,
Oh, give me the advantage of the secret and surprise.
Let's say yes or no.
Maybe.
A strong maybe.
It's a very strong maybe.
Any more guys? Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Okay. Well.
Mr. New President, can you tell us one more time, how confident are you in St. Petersburg your sports will remain one of the sports?
Me with these two guys would never be sit here if we were not confident.
So you're 100% confident?
not 100% confident.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And be careful in 10 days. Be attentive.